What is going on, Sabres fans? Welcome to another episode of Sabres Spotlight, where we shine a light on all things Sabres hockey. Ryan, what's going on?
Wow, what was that intro? That was different and unexpected.
What do you think? You like that or no?
I do. We could play around with it a little bit. I like it. But no,
Well,
nothing, man. Nothing's going on. What about you?
we can workshop the the actual slogan there, but I'm like, I think we got to get something nailed down for that. But yeah, no. So I was all right. So we got real quick intro story here because something crazy kind of happened this week. So this happened on Monday, and Monday's my late night at work. So I was leaving the office. It was like 7 o'clock, and I get a call from Katie, my wife, and I'm like, that's weird. She usually is not calling me because she knows I'm leaving anyway. So I'm like, something must be going on.
Yeah.
So we got these. It's been I've documented this on the podcast before, but it's been well documented that my daughter Riley, she does not ever want to go to bed at night. So we talked to the docs about this like throughout the years. She's like almost 3 now, and they were like, they told us like a while ago that we could try these like melatonin drops, which is just like to help a sleep aid, essentially like a natural hormone. And I don't know, I get weirded with that type of stuff. So like for the longest time, we didn't like do anything like that. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, no, no, no. Like they assured us they're like it's more than safe. You like not a problem. You might only have to use it for a little bit. So, anyways, I finally broke down just because we're like, listen, like we can't
It's too
keep,
much.
dude, seriously, like I can't keep spending 45 minutes or an hour like trying to get her down every night. It's just way too much. And so we broke down. So we got these things. So we give them to her like a couple days, and they seem to work great. Like she and bedtime was like shrunken down to like 10-15 minutes, and we're like, oh, this is beautiful. Like this is exactly what we wanted. So I get this call from Katie Monday night, and she goes, babe, I was changing Owen, who is my son. He was in the other room. She's like, and I walked out in the living room, and Riley had the melatonin gummies, and she was eating them. And
Oh
she's
my
only
god.
and so she's only supposed to get one. They're like
Right, dude.
it's like a each gummy is like 1 milligram, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, do you know? Like, she crawled up on like our kitchen counter, like got it. I'm like, do you know how many she ate? And she goes, well, I asked her, and she said two. And in my head, I'm like, all right, well, I'm like, she doesn't know any better. So I'm like on the phone with her. This is so funny. So I'm on the phone with her. I'm like, all right, well, ask her if she had 7. So Kitty goes, Riley, did you have 7? And she goes, yes.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
god.
I'm like, okay, so we can't take her word for it that she only had 2. I'm like, because we really have no idea how many she
Yep.
had. And like, so I'm on the phone with Katie, and like 3 minutes later, she's like, babe, she's already falling asleep. Like the lights are on. Like I don't know what's going on. Like we gotta
Dude,
make sure she's
it
okay.
kicked in so quick.
So so she called our I almost said vet. No, we don't
Yeah.
take Riley to the vet. So we called the doctor,
The
and
pediatrician? Yeah.
yeah, the pediatrician, and you get like their like message service first, and they're like, okay, we'll like relay your message. The doc will call anywhere between like the next 5 and 40 minutes. I'm like, 40 minutes. I'm like, hopefully this isn't a emergency or anything. So
Yeah.
we're like freaking out in the meantime, and I'm driving home, and I always call my parents when shit like this happens because like I never know what the hell to do, and
I
I'm in
I would do
panic
the
mode.
same thing.
Like
I would do the
that's
same
the
thing.
thing. It's like I'm in panic mode. She's in panic mode. So like I need to talk to somebody who's like removed from the
An adult,
situation who
like,
can tell me what to do.
doesn't it feel like when things happen where it's like not adults and we need like assistance from our parents?
Yeah, well, absolutely. So I call my mom, and she's like, and I'm like, Mom, I don't know what to do. And she's like, well, why don't you look at how many are in the bottle, and then you can just count how many, and you can kind of figure out from there. And I'm like, well, that's a good idea. I never thought of that. And then she goes, and you can also call poison control, and like they'll tell you what to do, like the poison control center. And I'm like, never would have thought of that because I didn't even know that existed. So so I call them on my way home, and the lady from poison control, super nice. I actually started crying on the phone with her just because she like assured me that everything was going to be fine.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting. So she basically said like the way the melatonin works is because it's like a natural hormone. So it'll basically like if her levels are low, it'll raise them to like a normal level, but it won't like exceed that. So like even though she ingested like more, it won't like those extra ones won't have any effect. Is kind of like how she explained it to me, because she was like, "Oh, I've had people call and say they've had like 50 of these things because they thought they were like just regular fruit snacks, and they're totally fine. I tell them the same thing. So I get home, Katie's on the phone with, I thought it was the doctor, and it ended up being her mom because she called her mom too. And she goes, yeah, my mom was just telling me to count the bottle and to call poison control. I'm like, that's exactly what my mom told me to say. And I was like, parents just know, man. Parents just know, and it ended up being fine. No big deal. Like poison control, like they were totally clutch, and the lady was so nice, and she's like hanging up with me, and she's like, I'm sending hugs your way, honey. Just like the nicest lady
Oh
that
my
I could have
god.
ever talked to. So shout out to that lady. But yeah, it was kind of just like a crazy little thing there, but we have been using them now, and just the one a night, and keeping them well out of reach from her, and it worked really good. So
Well,
hopefully
you know
that'll
what's
keep
funny?
going.
So it's my wife has trouble sleeping. Lexi has trouble sleeping like most nights, so she takes melatonin as well.
Yeah,
And I think I asked her the one day, I'm like, if you took like 40 of these, would you just like fall asleep instantly? And I think she did tell me one time that like, yeah, no, you just take like one or two and you're like, it'll be the same effect. So that's
yeah,
crazy that like, man, that's kind of cool. Those gummies though, they taste really good. So I can see why Riley wanted to just crush them.
yeah. It was scary for a second. Like I said, and ended up being okay. But the weirdest thing was like that night. So I get home, and it was like 10 minutes after I had just gotten it, and she was like already passed out on the bed.
Yep.
All the lights were on, and I'm like, she wouldn't. This is not. I'm like, she barely has. She would never fall asleep with the lights off and trying to cover down for an hour. It was
Right.
bizarre, but
Wow, that's crazy. Did you like wake her up and like put her to bed, or did you just like let her sleep?
no, we just put her to sleep. The doctor like ended up calling us back like within 10 minutes, like shortly
Oh,
after
cool.
we got off the phone with poison control, and they basically said the same thing, but they were like, if you want to like sleep next to her, sleep on the floor, and just like monitor her, that's fine. But we had the camera in there, so I was just like zoomed in on her and like making sure she was breathing, like just like checking on things like every like 5 minutes, just like a crazy dad, I
Right.
guess. But yeah,
Right.
so
God, that's insane and it's fucking terrifying, man. Toddlers are terrifying.
yeah,
Jesus Christ.
it was like the first time like something like that really scared me. Like I feel like we've done a pretty good job at keeping them like safe for these
Yeah.
first couple years, but this was like the first time something happened where I was like shitting my pants, and it was just like really really nerve wracking. But all right, I think so. We're gonna start off with Bills today. I think that's a good starting point. And as everyone knows, we had a crushing loss to the Chiefs. We don't need to rehash that, but I think we wanted to just kind of get on here and give some highlights, or maybe our thoughts on what we thought of the season, and how things kind of ended, and maybe where we're going from here. So I'll give you the floor first, Ryan, if you got anything like specific you want to say about the game or get off your chest about the season.
All right. Well, this whole year kind of I've been like anti McDermott, but over the last like, 2 months, he's really won me back over. I mean, installing Joe Brady as offensive coordinator, like I know like some of the numbers are down from where they were with Ken Dorsey, but it just felt different, like with Joe Brady as opposed to Ken Dorsey. So I gave McDermott like a plus for that, like recognizing like do what needs to be done, and then we went on that run, and I kind of was in a situation where we're kind of lucky to be here, and especially with all the injuries that we had on defense, like I mean, no Bernard, no Benford. Um, Douglas was basically on one leg.
I
We
mean,
had to
Milano
call
was out from the whole year
Milano's been out all
essentially.
year. We only got 4 games out of Milano this year. Like that stinks.
Yeah,
And they had to call AJ Klein, like ready to pack up his camper and drive to Key West for a fucking vacation. And I feel like the defense man was really good, and that's his bread and butter. And I think people like have this perception about McDermott that he's like a conservative coach and like just wants to run the ball when that couldn't be like further from the truth. Every metric about passing the ball and going for it on fourth down and just trying to like spread the ball around to like our playmakers, we're always at like the top 3, 4, 5 in the league. So
hmm
I don't know. I'm pretty happy with McDermott now, and I'm glad that he's staying. and I really think we'll be back again next year. And football is so lucky. Like, we could have won that game. Like, there were multiple plays. I guess you want to like bring up some plays that happened. There were multiple times where I thought we were gonna win, and we just didn't win. It was just like a game where like no like crazy stuff happened. It was just we just got beat.
Yeah, yeah. So McDermott was one of my things I wanted to bring up too. Like I'm certainly good with McDermott, and I think just because I mentioned on this show before how like he just gets his guys to play. Like he there's something to be said for that. He just like he gets these guys to know what like he I feel like he's able to kind of manufacture that doubt or get these guys motivated to play. And every time they have their backs against the wall, they get in. Like you said, to some degree, of course, there's disappointment and there was high expectations in the season. But I feel like for most Bills fans, if you would have asked all of us at week 12, like, hey, if you guys got into the playoff when we were 6-6, like if you guys make the playoffs and win a game, like, would you be happy with that? Like, a lot of us would have said yes because we would have thought we weren't even getting in the playoffs at that point in time. So like they made the moves they needed to with getting rid of Dorsey and kind of turning things around, and I give him a lot of credit for that. And I think my overarching like thought or feeling on the season is that I just I just feel happy like that we are where we are. Like we can feel that disappointment and that we're that good team because for so long that's all it was disappointment. Like there was no excitement mixed in with that. And like now we have Josh Allen and the Super Bowl window is going to be open as long as he's here. Like I don't want to hear this garbage about the window closing. Like all these teams with these elite quarterbacks, when you have these big contracts, they go through this. But I have a list here I want to go through. Like, think about what excites me is the steps up they got from the young guys this year. So
Yeah,
you get a step up from Bernard at middle linebacker, him going down. I know one player doesn't make a big difference, but I honestly think we probably beat Kansas City if he plays. I think he
I
was that.
agree.
I think he was that big of an injury. Yeah,
It's
Spencer
it's so
Brown.
much of a well. It's on Bernard. I just want to interrupt you for a
Yeah, yeah.
second.
Go ahead.
It's so much of a difference when you have Terrell Bernard in there
Hmm.
than like AJ Klein. Like,
Absolutely.
dude, like Terrell Bernard has become one of the best young linebackers in football,
Yeah.
and missing him sucked. But yeah, shout out some more guys because there are so many guys on this team that I'm excited about.
Yeah, and injuries are part of the game, I know, but like if they somehow can stay away from the injury bug next year and they get a whole season with Bernard and Milano at the linebacker position, like that's just going to be so awesome. But then I was going to go on to like Spencer Brown had like kind of an underrated, like really great season. Christian Benford, I know he's been banged up, but like he's like a good piece at cornerback now, where you're getting a little bit older with Trey White and you don't know what's going to happen with him. James Cook and Shakir, these offensive weapons that stepped up this year, and then the rookies. You add in a pretty good draft with these first three picks. I mean, you get Dalton Kincaid, who obviously is going to be a stud and contributed right away. Osiris Torrance on the line, who I thought played great all season, and I think he's going to really fortify that front line. And even Dorian Williams, I feel like I saw flashes from him, and I kind of like his intensity. He's a young player; he's going to take time to get there, but I mean, no one thought Bernard was going to be anything either, and they just have a way of kind of turning these backs into good players. And he's that same profile. They want these athletic, these young, these fast, defensive backs. So I don't know. I just feel really happy, really encouraged with the way they battled back and having Allen here. And I don't think the window's going to close because I think we have a lot of good young talent being shown that he can draft and develop. And I think they're just going to keep being competitive each year. So I'm just kind of stoked with where we're at.
Yeah, excuse me. Um, I'm excited about the draft as well because you can tell that the focus going into the draft is going to be to get Josh Allen another wide receiver or two.
Hmm.
Like I wouldn't, it would kind of be annoying for me if we moved up in the draft because like I'm a big proponent of trading down. I kind of just don't like ever trading up. We need all the young talent we can get, and I kind of want to spend all 10 picks on guys. But man, this wide receiver class, just like every year now, the wide receiver class is so good. They're gonna probably, I'd hopefully draft two in the first 4 rounds.
Yeah.
And man, and besides that, like I've also like really thought about in football, like if you go on social media, there's a lot of like writing players off very quickly, but I think watching our guys develop into like act like studs, like Bernard, like last year when we played the Jets and he had to start, he was terrible. Like one of the worst linebacker performances I've ever seen. He was awful. I mean, a lot of guys, content creators, will echo the same thing. And then here he is a year later with a year of development under his belt, and he's a stud. So
Hmm.
I'm really gonna give grace to like the young guys. Even someone like Kyer Elam, like he hid an injury from everyone this year, and when he was actually on the field, I thought he was not too bad, and
Yeah.
that's depth there. I don't know, man. It does suck, and I'm sad, and I'm really rooting hard for the Ravens to knock the Chiefs out because I can't stand them.
Yep.
But I'm satisfied with where the Bills are.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure. All right. Well, let's go ahead and transition here into. We're going to bring back the around the league segment. When this is something that we did for probably the first like 10 or so shows, and then we got away from it. And but there's some interesting things going on around the league now. A couple things that are kind of somewhat inter related with the Buffalo Sabres, and the first one being, which I'm sure everyone saw on Twitter this week, that the Islanders fired their head coach Lane Lambert. So not exactly sure what number head coach this is getting fired this year. I want to say it's up like 6 or 7.
Yeah,
There's
it's
been
it's it's definitely more than five, but like less than 10.
yeah, yeah. So you're looking at again a decent number of teams that have gotten rid of their head coach, and a crazy thing. I don't know if a lot of people saw it coming. Maybe Islanders fans did, but Patrick Waz, the replacement, Islanders were 19, 15, and 11, so 2 points out of the final wildcard spot at the time of firing. And I put this quote in here from their GM Lou Lamoriello because I feel like it kind of summarizes like what I kind of want like from the Sabres organization and what I'd like to hear Kevin Adams like speak with this tone once in a while. So Lou Lamoriello on the firing said, watching our team play, I felt the inconsistency that has been going on for some period was not going to end. I mean, you're talk about inconsistency, like that wasn't going to end. I mean, that's like 50 games for the Sabres so far. So it's just I don't know. What do you think? It's to me, it's frustrating, and I know a lot of Sabres fans are frustrated to see these other teams, that are even doing better than the Sabres, not accepting, mediocrity anywhere in the organization, and that helps keep people account, or that helps hold people accountable. But what do you think about this move?
Well, first of all, Lou Lamoriello is a psychopath. That guy, like, he operates in the shadows. No one has any idea what goes on. And he's a mafia boss. He's just like man, that guy is just like a hockey legend. Just when he dies, man, he's gonna go directly into the Hockey Hall of Fame. But man, that team is so boring though. Like that roster is not good. Like I firmly believe we have a better roster than the Islanders. They just have even Ilya Sorokin, the goalie, who is like one of the not like you know top three best goalies in the world. Like he's having a down year, kind of, and you
He
can
would have
see
won the
with this
Vezina
team.
last year if it wasn't
Yeah, he
for
was unbelievable.
Allmark, and then the
Yeah,
year Boston had, right?
yep. So you can see like with that roster, if he's not like playing levels above, they're kind of just okay. And on Long Island, that's not good enough. Where as opposed to like here, we're kind of like treading water, and we have been, and it's just like everything is just status quo. But hiring Patrick Waugh, holy shit, man, that's so exciting. He did you? So here's some Patrick Waugh lore that you might not know because you're like you just got like not that you just started watching hockey again, but we talked about how you picked it back up like
Oh yeah, for sure.
like in the last 10 years, dude. So Patrick Waugh, when he was with the Montreal Canadiens, he got his final game with the Canadiens. He got scored on, I think, 9 times, and like he didn't get pulled, and he was like asking to get pulled, and their coach was like, "You're staying." So after the game, there's video of this. After the game, he goes up to the fucking coach behind the bench and said, "That's the last game I'll ever play for the Montreal Canadiens."
Oh
And then
my
later,
god.
and then a couple days later, he got traded to Colorado and won a cup, maybe two cups. But yeah, so he's a fucking snap show. Then he coached Colorado, I want to say 7 or 8 years ago, like before they started getting really good. he coached Colorado, and in the second or third game of the season, he was gonna fight the opposing coach and like literally knock the glass down between the benches. Like this guy is a snap show, and it's so cool that he's back in the league because he's obviously a legend. Like I think he's like the second best goalie of all time besides Dominic Hasek. But man, it's just so awesome. And the first thing he said was, "We don't score goals. We don't
Yep.
score enough goals."
Yep.
And hey,
Yep.
he's going to light a fire under their ass for sure. And that's pretty exciting for them because I don't think
Yeah.
this is just like a half year thing. I think he's there for the long haul.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole point of it. Get someone in there that can light a fire under a team that's underachieving. But if Lou Lamoriello is a bit of a psychopath, and so is why, I mean that's just like a match made in heaven right there.
Yeah, it's great. Like Lou, man, Lou is like he just does things. Like there's been multiple times where Elliot Friedman is like, yeah, I think Lou Lamoriello is going to make a trade or a signing, but I have no idea who. And like this is Elliot Friedman, just like he knows everything with the league, and
Yeah.
just Lou operates. He's like operating in the shadows, man. I love it. It's crazy. No one saw this coming.
Well, speaking of things no one saw coming, I mean the Edmonton Oilers are on a hell of a run right now. So the Oilers, they set the record for the longest win streak this season. I think it was actually at 13 games, and then they pushed it to 14 with a win a couple days ago. They're actually playing tonight against Chicago. So the all-time record is a 17-game win streak, and that was by the Pittsburgh Penguins in the 1992-93 season. That team was led by Mario Lemieux, who had a crazy 160 points that year, 69 goals and 91 assists. They also had four players with 100 plus points, including one of those, including Rick Tocchet, my boy over there in Vancouver. So little shout out to Rick Tocchet there. But what do you think about this win streak? Another team that was dead to rights. They get Chris Knobloch in there. That's probably not the only reason they got there. Of course, they're looking like they have a 100% healthy Connor McDavid now. But do you think they can
Dude,
break the record? Are they going to keep rolling? What do you think?
so it's kind of crazy because their next opponents. You said Chicago tonight. They play Detroit on Saturday, and if they win those two, they'll be at 16 wins, right? Then the all
Yes.
then the All Star break hits, so they don't play again until like February 13th. So to match the streak, they'll come back and they'll play Boston on their 17th game if they can win the next two. That's an insane game to like try to match the record by the Penguins. But
Yeah,
dude,
I
I
mean,
don't
and how
know.
lucky to be going for breaking a record like that, and you kind of you get like a break. You're getting like you can like
You know
kind
what
of
we should
rest
have
up.
done? Yeah, that is actually a really good point. You know what we should have done? We should have looked to see how many points McDavid has during these 14 games. Because
Oh, dude,
like,
he's just going off right now.
so the thing about the Oilers, man, like everyone wrote them off in the beginning of the year. I mean, it was fun to make fun of them because they won what, like one game in their first 10, like they were awful. But dude, they just couldn't get saves. Like their whole issue was like they were getting like every night was an Eric Comrie night for them.
Yeah,
Like no matter who they put in net. And they were giving up like odd man rushes at will. It was crazy. Like guys were just not playing well, and McDavid also wasn't playing well. And then you see what happens. They just pick it up. Their two best guys are the two best guys in the world, and man, they are just like on fire. Like 14 games in a row is cool. Is so cool. Like Edmonton's back. Edmonton is so back.
yeah. Their special teams are like their power plays, back humming, and their penalty kill has been like I think number one or number two, like in the NHL over the last like over this stretch of play. So, yeah, Edmonton's back, and like you said, it's one of those teams that like was fun to make fun of, but everyone was kind of like, don't let them get hot because if they sneak in, like no one's gonna want to play this team. And and who knows? I mean, I don't know how high they can get in the standings given their start, but I think they're wild card one right now in the West.
Dude, it's wild that like so it's so funny that Chris Knobloch is the guy they brought in because I keep thinking his name is Chuck Knobloch, the fucking old second baseman for the New York Yankees. But it's crazy that like a coaching change also helped them that much.
Mm-hmm.
And their writers always talk about how like Jay Woodcroft tried to instill like a man-to-man defense in their defensive zone to try to fix their problems. And I watched a lot of Oilers games because they're the freaking Oilers. I want to watch McDavid. Man, before the
Late night
coaching
hockey.
change, yeah, before the coaching change, they were just running around like trying to find guys in the defensive zone, like easy tap in goals, and then also they're getting scored on from 45 feet out. So like they might have well as well just been like transitioning into playing like just dressing as traffic cones in the defensive zone because they were just nowhere to be found. And then they make the coaching change and they bring in a guy that knows how to actually coach this system, like has done it his whole life. So it's weird. It's awesome that like all right they recognize that this might be a better approach for the players they have. So they brought in like the optimal guy to teach them how to do it, and now they're just like 14 wins in a row, man. Like that's impressive.
Yep. Yeah, I mean it's important, right? Being able to match the coach with the team, and we talked about that before too with Don. Like Don, I think was a perfect coach to get the Sabres to where they are now and get develop these young kids. But is he that perfect coach to teach them how to win now and for these young kids to look at be like, all right, this is the guy that's going to lead us to the promised land, and who knows. But yeah, a couple examples there of some teams that are switching coaches, and I'd like to see the Oilers do it just to see some history being made.
So
That's always fun.
we got to talk about one thing we didn't write down though. We got to talk about Nathan McKinnon. This guy
I know
is
what you're gonna
ripping
say.
up. This guy is ripping up the league, man. So the other night, okay, you got to find the clip from his hat trick goal because it's insane. It's so funny. So he bangs in 4 goals the other night. We got women throwing their bras and underwear on the ice. I've never seen underwear thrown on the ice. That is insane. Like how
That
hot
is
do you have to
crazy.
be? How hot do you have to be for Nathan McKinnon to just rip your thong off and throw it on the ice? That's insane. But so his third goal, if you guys want to find the clip, it's so funny. So he collects the puck like on a mini 2-on-1, and he's basically turns it into like a 1-on-0 because he's so fast. There's a guy in the bottom right corner. He is in the middle of taking his hat off as McKinnon is collecting the puck. That night, he just knew that he was gonna bury the hat trick goal, and as soon as the puck like doesn't even hit the netting, the guy fucking whips his hat on the ice. It's amazing. It's an amazing clip,
That
and
dude was
this
calling his
guy,
shot.
yeah, this guy is on fire. He is on fuego right now, and I think I saw that Gabriel Landeskog is practicing for them. He has missed over a year with his injury, and if they get their captain back for the playoffs, put him on like I wonder what if like they activate him and then maybe like throw him on LTIR, just like do a little Kucherov situation where you throw him on LTIR and bury his money, go trade for like 4 guys and then activate him in the playoffs and then you're over the cap. Dude, Colorado could be a team not to fuck with, again, which is great.
Yeah, so that's kind of funny you say that because as you're saying this, I my thought is like how different like football and hockey are in that aspect of where like you think of like football and the Bills where like you got Josh Allen. If you have a quarterback, you're going to be a top team. Like you need that one piece, right? And it seems like, and you're more the hockey guy, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like with hockey, like you have those, you have these top tier players, but you're never going to win a Stanley Cup with just that. It seems like you truly need that team and and that depth that's going to get you there, right? So it obviously doesn't hurt to have those top guys, but it seems like those teams that eventually get to the Stanley Cup and win it, it's it's the teams that have those guys, but also built up the right way around those guys.
Well, dude, it's so a lot of things remind me of like, so I think it was 2012. I could be corrected by someone. 2012, the LA Kings won the Stanley Cup, and I think it was that year. So Justin Williams was like at that point he won a cup with Carolina in 2006, but on the 2012 Kings team, he's a little older, like a third line player. Dude, this guy was so good in the playoffs. He won the Conn Smythe Trophy for playoff MVP. The Kings played multiple game sevens. I want to say 3 game sevens that year, and he scored like 1 or 2 goals in every single game seven. They were calling him Mr. Game Seven by the end. So you got like, dude, yeah, you're right. Their team was awesome, and they had studs like Kopitar, and Dustin Brown was still good at the time, and like a young Drew Doughty. But they had this older veteran just banging in goals. So you really need that team. Like someone's got to step up.
Yeah,
But
yeah, for sure, for sure. That's like
that's
Matt
that's the
Kachuk
difference.
last year.
well, he's a fucking stud.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah.
fucking stud dog.
But I'm saying, with
But
like
it's
he
just
had
like,
like whatever, like 3 game-winning goals or something
oh
like during their
yeah,
run.
that was absurd. He was like carrying Florida. Like one guy in the playoffs, if like some guy can just come out of nowhere and just start carrying you.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the difference between those teams and the Buffalo Sabres, is those teams have the depth to carry you where we just don't.
yeah. Is Thompson in that tier? Like, I know he obviously the last
No.
couple of years have been hired. Like, that's the thing. It's like he's like, I wonder if like everyone last year was saying, and it was true that like, oh, like that $7 million contract is such a steal, and now I'm kind of like, is it just appropriate value? Like, maybe it's a little bit of a deal, but it's not. I don't know if it's going to end up being this like huge bargain. I know he's been beat
Like
up and stuff, and we'll
if you're
see.
if you're
But
talking if you're talking like number one centers, I would probably say like offensively, Tage is like a top 10 player. But if you're talking like full 200 feet of ice, he's probably like in the 15 to 20 range of like number one centers.
mhm. Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure.
And
I
that's
would I
just
would agree with
not,
that.
I mean, I love him, but we need the pieces behind him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, for
it is
sure.
good enough if you have the depth, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You just need that whole team. All right, you want to take this last piece here, and then we'll get into Sabres games
Oh,
over the last
I
week,
know this disgusts me.
because you know more about this than I do. I mean, I read about it, did a
So
little research, but I'll let you take it.
so last year, maybe a year and a half ago now, it's been a while. Rick Westhead, who does like investigative reporting at TSN, reported that a, a woman came to the authorities in Canada alleging that she was gang raped by members of the 2018 World Junior Hockey Team, Canadian team. Now, for a while, this like went away for a bit, like it was big news at the time, and everyone said like, let's let the authorities handle it and stuff. Now, at the time, there was speculation about names, and I mean, speculation about names in this situation is just like it's so tough, and obviously, like you are supposed to believe like women when they come forward with sexual assault allegations. But man, like people were pushing back, and it was kind of like gross. And when the names came out, it kind of like got even more fucked up because it's like she's not the one saying the names. It's like just rumor people are the ones saying the names. And now it's confirmed. Well, technically confirmed, technically not, because like it's not, these players didn't aren't like announced as being uh released from their teams for this reason. I actually have a bone to pick with Calgary, like a major bone to pick with Calgary. We can get into that after. But
Yeah, I think I know what you're gonna
so
say.
so five players were asked by the Canadian police to surrender. Michael McLeod and Cal Foote of the New Jersey Devils, Carter Hart of Philadelphia, Dylan Dubé of Calgary, and Alex Formenton, who is playing in Europe right now. He was a great young player. Like you know, the Senators signed Drake Batherson for that long deal last year, and he's like their future. He's like their Dylan Cousins.
You say
Well,
Batherson?
yeah, he's good.
No, it's
So
Sanderson.
no, they're center, their center, Drake
Oh, I thought
Batherson.
you said. Oh, they have
No,
two
not
Jakes.
Sanderson. Yeah, Drake with a
Oh,
D.
Drake. I thought
So
you said Jake.
so
Okay.
so Formenton, he is like as a player pretty good, like almost like I would say just as good as Batherson is. But the Senators knew this was happening a year ago, never signed him to a contract, and he fucked off to Europe to play. Well, these five players got recalled by Canada, and they're gonna sit for. I'm not sure how the law works, and um, they're gonna be probably tried and hopefully go to jail because man, the details of this story are so disgusting. Like I actually went through and read a couple articles, like the details of uh, what the woman said happened to her, and like how far Hockey Canada went to cover it up by offering her money like right away to try to not go to police. It's just disgusting, man. And you can't really like say this for a fact, but man, hockey culture, even from like a young age, disgusts me. People are taught in this game, like we got a long way to go. People are taught in this game to like basically like objectify women. You know, you got all the, even when I was in school, like oh the puck bunnies are around, like you know. it's insane how people talk about women in this sport, and you can see from a like it has to change from a young age. If it doesn't change from a young age, we're gonna get more stories like this, and it's really fucking sad. And I really hope that they get the jail time that they deserve.
Amen, dude. That's perfectly said. I'm not even gonna elaborate on that.
Can we talk about Calgary real
Yeah,
quick?
yeah, yeah.
So Calgary put out a statement yesterday that Dylan Dubé was taking a leave of absence for mental health reasons. Fuck that. Are you serious? You know this is happening. Like, you know this is why he's being released, and you're gonna tweet that under the guise of mental health when
Yeah,
there are
that's messed up,
probably
man.
when there are plenty of people, plenty of players that have actually went into the player assistance program or taken a leave of absence for mental health reasons, and you're gonna put this rape investigation under the guise of mental health.
Hmm.
Absolutely disgusting move by Calgary. It really made me angry.
Yeah, yeah. As soon as you mentioned that, I knew you were gonna say that just because I saw the statement as well, and I was like, wow, that's pretty brutal to try and categorize it under that, or like you said, even kind of state that they're
But
similar in
like
any way. But
in general, hockey culture has to change. There are so many TikToks, man, of like people are gonna know this. I don't know this person's name, but I see his TikToks a lot where he takes the mic and asks like little kids, like, "Hey, how many blondes do you have in your phone on Snapchat?" Or like, "Hey, who's your favorite celebrity crush?" Like, dude, these kids are like 10 years old.
yeah,
Like you should not be teaching this at this young age. And I get it, like, oh, boys will be boys, blah, blah. But dude, you cannot be doing that. Like it's disgusting, and it leads to like how they view women like growing up. You can't be planting these seeds in these child's minds at such a young age, man. It's really sad shit.
yeah, yeah. Something's got to change, and hopefully it does. But stuff takes a long time to change, and a lot of people to change it. So it's going to be a work in progress. But yeah, we'll have to see what comes of the story here. Hopefully, things get worked out, and the right punishment is handed down. And with that, I think we're ready for Sabres here, right?
Yeah, let's move on to something that's like actually positive, which is really funny because I texted Eric uh, yesterday or the day before. Thanks for coming on the show, bud. But I texted him, I'm like, I can't wait to record because I'm gonna get so mad. And then they ended up winning,
I
they ended
know.
up winning. So
It's
it's like,
so
what the fuck,
funny
man?
how like the difference a day makes, right? Because like they had that shit performance which was against Anaheim, which was like that Blue Jackets performance, right? And I want to say the Columbus game, like that, the other 9-4 schlacking we took was similar. Where like, but I think that was like at the end of a podcast week, so we were just going off on them, and then they thumped the Leafs like in the first round or
The
the
next
first
day.
game.
It was the next.
Yeah,
It was the next day.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was a
So
Thursday.
it was the same thing, and then it's like, man, if we would have recorded, because we usually do Wednesday night, but we did Thursday night this week, so we're like, man, if we would have recorded yesterday, it would have been so
Oh,
much more, negative.
we would
But
be
there is still a
popping
lot
off.
of negative shit to say about that
Oh
game, and
yeah.
I have some thoughts on it for sure. But
Did
yeah,
you
I
watch
think
the full? Oh, I forgot that we lost the frickin' first game against Tampa Bay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, so
Yesterday.
like, okay, so since we'll start at the top, we'll get to Anaheim as we go down. But so there's been 4 games since we spoke last. So the first one was actually a 3-0 win at home against the Chicago Blackhawks. So UPL had his second back-to-back shutout with 19 and 19 saves. So he wasn't like tested a whole lot in this game. Obviously, the Blackhawks without Bedard, they're just a very limited roster, and this is a game that they should have won. But of note, he was +2 on the GSAX, or goals saved above expected, and Chicago did have 5 medium and 3 high danger chances. So it wasn't like they were just like kind of like tossing like softballs out there at him. Like he was tested a little bit this night, and he played well. He played well. He gets the back to back shutouts, which is not easy, and at this point in time, he had not allowed a goal in 157 minutes of gameplay. So like EPL has been playing at a very very high level, five and
Dude,
one over his last 6 starts with a 956 save percentage.
I don't think we can call him UPL anymore. His name is Ukko-Pekka Lakamin.
Ukko
I think
Pekka absolutely.
because I think he's earning himself an extension.
Yeah, yeah. So that's interesting that you say that. I never thought about that, but he is up at this year, and I don't. I'll look real quick. I can't remember if he's RFA or
No,
UFA,
yeah,
but
he's RFA. He's
he's
RFA.
an RFA. Yeah, yeah,
He's
RFA.
too
So,
young.
yep. So they'll have to make a decision on that. But yeah, man, Ukko-Pekka he's been playing really really good, and he's a reason why they won this game for sure. So power play in this game was 1 for 6. So the power play struggles continued, but the penalty kill has been heating up. Penalty kill was 4 for 4 in this game, 12 for 12 over their last 4 games with special teams. And just a quick note before I let you kind of give some more thoughts on what you thought about this game, Ryan. Ryan Johnson, his first multi point NHL game, 2 assists, and he also played on the penalty kill a little bit. So it's kind of nice to see him maybe get into the score sheet a little bit. Someone who we know has been playing pretty good, but maybe hasn't had some of the counting stats. So he finally gets rewarded for some of his hard work and good play.
Honestly, dude, I don't have much to add. That was a stellar breakdown by you because the Blackhawks without Bedard are one of the worst rosters I've ever seen in this league. So if you don't win against them, like you should just really sit in the mirror and think about like what you're doing with your hockey team. So hey, good for them. They picked up their second shutout in a row for UPL. I mean, they beat the Sharks, which is another team where it's like if you don't win, the fuck are you doing?
Yep.
But yeah, the next game though, I couldn't watch the next game because I was at work, but I listened to it and I'm very glad that I didn't get to watch it.
Yeah, that's right. This was the Kids Day game.
Oh
So
man, it's not the kids day game, it's the fuck them kids game.
so someone
Every
can have to
time.
fact check me because we talked about this before. But for some reason, so I think they actually won on Kids Day last year. I want to say I looked it
I don't
up,
believe it.
dude. I think they did. I when I looked it up, I might and I might have just got bad intel, but I remember when I looked it up, I think it was like a 4-3 win over the Hurricanes. Like I think they had
Maybe
like a
they did.
good win.
Maybe they
But
did. But man, I just feel
if
like I
someone
would never
listening
trust my child.
has other intel, like the right intel, they can correct us. But I was just texted. I remember we talked before the game, and I was like, "Are you ready for the F them kids memes?" Because I feel like they come out every year. But it wasn't like a horrible game. Like I put on here, like Money Puck actually had them 66% like deserve to win on their website, but again, like they didn't play too bad, but it's just one of those games where like if you were starting to make a push, kind of creep into that wild card consideration, and Tampa Bay is one of those teams you're directly competing with, and you get a loss to them at home. This is a game that was potentially a 4 point swing. You go down quickly 2-0 after 7 minutes after giving up another shorthanded goal. Granted, they're eighth of the season, which is tied for most in the league, and it was just a game where they didn't generate any offense, only a 2.08 expected goal share for the whole game, and it was just kind of disjointed from start to finish as far as the offense goes. But what do you think, Ray?
UPL played well, and from the clips I saw, it was like
Yeah,
the
he
most
did.
boring offensive game I've ever seen. Like even Tampa Bay like wasn't really doing a whole lot. Like yeah, they scored 2 goals and then they had the empty netter, but I really feel like this game was so boring. Like if you want, maybe it was like a kids' day game where like if your kid's having trouble sleeping, like Rye, you could bring her to that game and have her fall asleep because it was so boring.
It was so funny. I almost thought about tweeting that out during the game, like, "Oh, I might just keep this game and like play it at night if I'm having trouble sleeping, and it'll put me right to bed." But or no, actually
I
no,
want
I
to,
was thinking that about the Anaheim game, not this game. But
dude.
these couple games were a tough little stretch here for them anyway.
I want to ask you what you think about Owen Power's empty net effort because I honestly could not care less. I don't care about him at all, and it got blown up on social media for like no reason. I feel like.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I saw the play and the goal, and like you said, everyone was saying. I even got a text from a couple buddies like that night after the game, and were like, "Oh, that was such like a crap." But like even though it's an empty net goal, like that stuff still happens like pretty high speed, and these guys aren't goalies. So like, what's he
Yeah.
supposed to do? Like dive on the ice or like throw a
Like
like?
it might look like it was like he was moving slower than molasses or like not moving at all, but like it probably in real time like happened pretty fast.
Yeah, Yeah, I
It's
don't
like
have like
whatever.
a I don't have like a huge problem with it. I tell you what, I had two problems with this game, and then we can get on to Anaheim. But number one was the slashing call on Benson
Oh,
at the end of the
oh my
game.
God, this guy. So, dude, do you remember when Cam Newton was a rookie in the NFL and he like roughing the passer was just not called on Cam Newton?
Yep.
Like he just didn't, and the ref got on a hot mic, like they caught the ref on a hot mic, or maybe Newton said it like after a game. I mean, granted, this was like 12 years ago. He said, or like the ref said, "You're not old enough to get that call." I feel like this is happening to Zach Benson. That like either he's not old enough to draw penalties, or anything he does, like even remotely wrong or that looks wrong, he's getting called because he's so young.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
this
so
guy
I was just
takes
gonna say like the
like what
call
the fuck?
was like right at the end of the game too. Like it didn't need to be called, and like the goalie, it was Johansson in net for this game because like for some reason he's always a stud against the Sabres. But so Johansson like froze the puck, and it was somewhat bang bang. Like there was maybe like a second that gone by, but like Benson kind of gets his stick in there, like but literally like a harmless like little slap. I don't even know like like
The
Johansson
puck
probably
must have
didn't
been
even.
loose.
Yeah, and Johansson, it was so light, honestly. Like Johansson probably didn't even feel it, like with the adrenaline of the game, and he gets called for slashing, and it was just so brutal. So then, the tough part about this was, I think at the time it was still 2-1, so the penalty was a big thing. Like the empty netter didn't happen yet. I'm almost certain. So the penalty is a big thing because then you don't have the man advantage. You can't get that last a goal to try and tie things up, even sneak away a point. But that was my first problem. My second problem was I picked this was Cousins' first game back. I picked in my parlay for this night for Dylan Cousins to score, and I picked the Sabres. I picked the under in the game. It was the over under was 6.5. So I'm like oh. And so the third period started. I'm like bang! I got the Cousins goal in the second. I'm like there's no way this is hitting the over. There's only been 2 goals in this game so far. All I need is Tage Thompson to get 3 shots on net, and I'm gonna win. It would have been like $75 on like a $5 bet, and this man has 1 shot all game, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I thought I got the hard one. I'm like, the Cousins goal was the hard
Right.
piece. Tage, I thought was a lock, and then I was so that pissed me off a little bit too.
Poor Tage, man. I feel like he's not playing very well lately. That whole top
No,
line is
he's
just so disjointed, dude. It's not great.
yeah.
But I got nothing else
I
to
think
add.
Tage is just in his head a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah, I got this Anaheim game. Oh my God, do we have to go over this game? Because I shut it off.
Yeah, we don't have to say too much about it. Everyone knows it was absolutely terrible. I
Four
mean, guys
two,
were
man.
just falling over the ice. Like I
Dude.
must have
Oh,
seen. Like I'm pretty sure we had more just like player falls than shots on net.
I. Dude. So real quick. So the Connor Clifton
The Clifton
play,
highlight. Oh my god.
where he's like skating the puck up ice, and then he just falls over. Like that happens to me. Okay, that happens to me in beer league because I can't skate. I'm a bad skater. That'll happen to me. You know, I'm just skating up the ice. My head's up. I'm ready to snap a nice pass through 2 lines for a breakaway, and then I just fall. Well, Connor Colton should be playing at Performax Ice Hockey Center because he just toe picks, falls, and then gets back into the play terribly, and they scored. Like one of the funniest like plays I've seen happen to our team in the last pretty much the whole season. I mean, it was just a joke.
Well, the fall was brutal, but what was worse was the defense after because he got up and he was still the only man back. It was a 2 on
Yeah,
1,
yeah,
and he literally just is back skating. Is it called backpedaling? Is that
yeah.
what the term?
Back skating. Yeah, like
Okay,
yeah.
so he's back skating, backpedaling, whatever, but he doesn't commit to the skater, and he also doesn't commit to the pass. He just kind of like backs into the goalie, and like they just scored so easy. So I'm like, what were you like? I don't know. That play was just so terrible,
And
but
okay, and it's the fucking Anaheim Ducks. This team is horrible.
they're
This
like
is like the
15,
30th game
30,
in the
and
league,
4.
and they made us look like we never put on skates before. Like this game, we were on the perimeter. Not a single guy had a good game, and I can't. It's such a joke that they didn't deserve to score 2 goals and almost come back in the game. I feel like they played for 5 minutes in this game and they almost got a point, which was crazy. This just a horrible effort. I mean, it was so disappointing, especially like off the back of getting those 2 shutouts the week prior, and then oh yeah, you lost to Tampa Bay, whatever. But man, I honestly thought like I forget who made this point. I wonder if they had their rookie party the night before and they were like super fucked up. Like because that's like a thing that players will do on the road. Like they'll set up a party for the rookies where like the rookies pay and they get all like wasted and shit. Like that's a thing that happens around the league. I'm based on that performance. I think they had their rookie party the night before.
Maybe, dude. I mean, they could have, or they were jet lagged from the travel. I don't know what their travel schedule was, but it was brutal, man. And like the Buchagros quote, I mean, like we have so
Oh,
many
the
national media
announcing,
people
the
just
announcing.
taking
Oh,
shits on us. We had what Lundqvist earlier in the season, and then I forget who the other guy was, but like the like the national
right.
media had
It's
been
right. It's Ryan
shitting on us.
Callahan. He's from here.
Dude, everyone's been and Buchagros literally at the end of the game was like, I forget the exact quote, but something about like an embarrassing game for the Buffalo Sabres
Listen,
and Buffalo hockey. Like, I'm like, oh my god.
I hate John Butchergross. He is the worst commentator in hockey right now. He is so cringe. He's like 60 years old, and he'll like use 20-year-old terms like, buddy, just call the game. You're not a hockey bro anymore. You are literally in your 50s or 60s. Like, come on. I can't stand Butcher Cross. I'd rather watch it. I would rather watch it on mute than listen to him.
Well, and I don't like Buchagros either, but like I guess the point just being that like all like a lot because all these national guys, they're not like tuning into Sabres hockey this year, but it like
Right.
that's just the
Well,
thing.
I'm
Like
with you.
it doesn't take like an expert to just see how bad they are sometimes, and it's just like, why is this happening? Why is this a thing? Maybe it was a rookie party, who knows? But at least they
Well,
do
dude,
bounce back.
can we talk about Granado's in-game
Oh,
interview?
oh, dude. Yeah, I sent it to you.
Can you? I'm laughing too hard. You gotta talk.
I need to. What I need to do, I need to make his face a meme because when they went to him, and this was only like 10 minutes into the game, or maybe it was the start of the second
It
period. I
was
don't know.
1-0. It was
Yeah,
1-0.
dude, he looked like when they showed him on the camera, it looked like he just got like his face looked like dejected and disheveled. He looked like swollen too, like he just got stung by a bunch of bees or something. Like, but like he looked like he was sleeping, and then the question, like you could tell he was about to bomb this, like he was shitting his pants. And then whatever Bucci Gross asked him, like he was just like, we just got to compete. We just got to play harder. The same shit, we got to compete. We got to get pucks to the net. The same, but like you could just tell he had no idea what to say. And then the worst part is they get back to the game, and I think Buchagros thought that the interview was going to be over, and Donnie's just still rambling on for like another minute because now he's trying to over-explain himself because he didn't know how to answer the first question. And I'm just like, oh my god, this guy is such an embarrassment, and I'm like, he cannot survive this game, but he
He
does, but he
cannot
does,
survive
but
this. He's gonna survive the road trip because we're gonna go 2-1 on it. I don't want him here anymore, dude. I don't want him here anymore. I'm over it. The whole coaching staff. I'm
yeah,
done. The
no,
rest of the season almost means nothing to me because I need a coaching change.
yeah, yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely,
Because
but I just laugh.
after this game, they asked Don about like whatever competing. Whatever. He goes, there are no bad teams in this league. No way, dude. Shut up. If okay, you know that saying where it's like if you don't have any assholes in your friend group, it's probably you.
Yeah, 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 oh yeah.
Well, if Donnie doesn't think that there are any bad teams in hockey, his team is the bad hockey team.
That is
You
such
know?
a good way to sum it up.
Like, man, how can you just say there are no bad teams in this league? Like, yes, there are bad teams in this league. We just played the Chicago Blackhawks, and they had, out of their 16 skaters, they had 14 that I'd never heard of before. So, like, come on, man. Like, it's insane. Like, this guy just, I'm sick of his voice. I'm sick of his face. It really feels, if we didn't beat LA last night, I almost was going to tweet out that this feels like the middle of the bad crew, like the Kruger seasons. And I
Dude,
know that's hyperbolic and it's not true, but I can't stand him and I can't stand the way we play. I hate it so much.
all I keep thinking is if we can't stand him and we see him for like the bare minimum, imagine how much the players probably hate this
Okay,
guy.
so I was gonna make
Twenty-four
this point
seven.
too. I was gonna make this point. So let's say they're probably doing video, like, gotta go over your shit. Dude, they're probably in video like, what the fuck is this guy saying? Like, what is he saying? Like,
Well, that's
I
new
bet
this
he's,
year, right? Remember?
I, I
The
bet he's
video
in,
is new this year.
I bet he's in there like, all right, guys, when we get the puck, you gotta be Velcroed to the blue line. All the wingers, Velcro yourselves to the blue line, because that's our system this year. Like, dude, come on. Come on.
No, no, no. I can tell you exactly. I love doing these like little mock down things. So I can tell you exactly how this goes in the video. So they're all watching, right? And Donnie's got a play up, and he's showing them a play. He goes, "All right, guys, hey, come on. All right, look up here. What do you guys think happened on this play?" And before he even finishes the sentence, the whole room just goes, "Compete."
We didn't, like the most monotone voice, we didn't compete hard enough.
Yep. And then, all right, guys, hey, check out this play. All right, so here we go. We get the puck to Tage. What do you think the problem is here? Shoot the puck on the net.
Just like the most basic ancillary things.
Yep. That's how it goes. But
And I feel
so
bad for Don because I like him as a person. I think he's like a great guy to have in hockey, but I don't think he's just past his level. Like his
yeah,
level is rebuilding team that's not ready to take the next step. And there are
yeah,
plenty of other teams he can go to and like make them excited.
yeah. It's just all about the fit. And sometimes you just lose your voice a little bit, or you lose your confidence, which he clearly has. And it's just right place, right time. And like you said, look at like the Oilers and the change they made. So you just never know. He was good for us last year, but it seems like he's expired. And I don't know. I don't know if he's going to last the whole year. I certainly hope not, but we'll see. We'll see. They do bounce back the following night, going actually a nice comeback win against the Kings. They were down 3-1, and this was a night where the kids just tormented LA all night. By the kids, I mean the kid line. So they were 0.67 expected goals for throughout the whole game, and only a 0.089 expected goals against. So like they were. JJ Paterka specifically had scored 2 goals and was just torching them all night. I think he drew like 3 penalties during the game as well. Cousins had a pretty nice game, and Quinn looked great as well. Quinn's been
Well,
been playing good
the
since he's been back. So
the Cousins goal and the Quinn goal were
yeah,
if
they were on the
UPL
goalie.
if UPL or Levi let those in, I would lose my mind. Like LA is
Yeah,
so weird because they weren't LA like weren't they like really hot this year in the beginning? Like they were unbelievable, and now like they are
yeah,
horrible. Like
they're
I
they're
think
taking it. They're in a
like
tailspin. Yeah,
the Sabres took it to them though. I think like in the first period we were
they
down.
did.
What was it, 3-0 or 3-1?
We were down 3-1 after the first.
So I don't even like if it wasn't for Levi letting in softball. Like the first goal was an unbelievable pass by Adrian Kempe, and the second goal and the third goal were just you shouldn't give that up. You shouldn't give up those shots to NHL shooters. Like you should make those saves. So I really feel like the first period was all on Devin Levi, and then the kid just locked in. Like the kid locked in, and we just started dominating. We were playing with pace. Like this was a late game. It started at like 10:45, but I stayed up for the whole thing because I'm a sicko. And man, you watched it this morning or in the afternoon.
Yep.
We were like all over them the whole second and third period. Like they didn't stand a chance.
Yeah, I will say I think the Sabres definitely look good, but I think part of the reason why we were all over them, like LA looked bad. Like they looked disjointed. And I honestly like sometimes like their guys on the ice too, it was like I was like, what are these guys doing? Like they kind of look like the Sabres right now. So we did play good, but I think LA, like again, they are in this tailspin, so they're playing bad hockey. And if you ask their fans, they probably like this was just another bad game for them. And the Sabres kind of needed that to have this bounce back win. But you mentioned Levi. So Levi lets in 1 goal in the first 10 or 3 goals in the first 10 minutes, and then not another goal in the final 50 minutes. And I'm gonna go through some of these stats because this is just him. He's just like this Jekyll and Hyde goalie all year, but he does finish the game with a goal with a positive goal saved above expected at plus 129 or 1.29. Stops 37 of 40 shots for a 925 save percentage, and he only allowed one goal on six what MoneyPuck categorizes as medium danger chances and zero goals on high danger chances. So like he made good saves throughout this game, and a big reason we won is because of Levi. He's won games for us before. The one thing I do want to say before I let you comment on this stuff is the rebounds are still an issue for him. He did allow 6 rebounds in this game on what MoneyPuck only categorizes as like 3 rebound worthy shots. So like the rebounds are popping out, but I thought overall he played pretty well given the start, and you like to see a goalie be able to bounce back like that and kind of lock back in.
To give you a perspective on how Drew Doughty feels LA played during this game, I have a couple quotes from him. So after the game, Doughty was asked on what has to change, and he said, "These are pretty scathing comments. Like these are like akin to what Cousins said earlier this in the year about the Sabres." He said, "I think we have guys in this room who are too worried about themselves and worried about their points. We get a 3-1 lead tonight, and guys start thinking it's cookie night, and we stop playing the way we know how to play. We have an awful second period, and we're not much better in the third. It's about the team, not about yourself. A lot of guys on this team need to realize that." Like that's a fractured
Damn.
locker room, and
Yeah.
I'm glad we took advantage of like them being in a low point. But man, that's a team that like everyone thought was going to be in like pretty secure in the playoffs. And
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of like you said. I think you used the word tailspin. I think that's like a perfect word for them right now.
Yeah, yeah, and those comments are pretty scathing, like you said. That's like Devon Taves from a few weeks back, and
Oh yeah,
and it's good to
Colorado.
have those guys that speak up. I mean, that shows leadership, and I think LA is a good team. They obviously have a ton of talent. They'll probably figure it out, but teams go through these ups and downs, and
Yeah.
I guess we'll see what happens. But like you said, it was a good opportunity for us to kind of take advantage of them and sneak a win on the road when we needed it. So.
Yeah,
Um,
hockey is like no other sport where like a fuck you match in the locker room, like after like a blown lead, is like a good thing. Like
yeah,
those guys, like you said, those guys will rally. That's a
yeah,
good
for
team.
sure, for sure. All right, so that's pretty much the last week. So the Sabres go 2-2 since we last spoke, and I think me, you, and Eric all predicted 2-2 maybe last time. I guess that's not that hard to predict at this
I
moment in
mean, yeah,
time.
they win one, lose one, win one, lose one. That's their thing.
But I mean, hey, we got to give us our props when we can take them. But we'll get into just some thoughts we have on the Sabres here. I have a few questions that I want to send your way, just as far as like discussion goes. But you have anything you want to talk about specifically here?
Well, you hit me and then I'll hit you.
All right. So my first thing I want to talk about here is so there's something I want to say for the end that's just kind of like a thought of mine, or a feeling that I have. But I thought about this thought question today. Like, where do you think it might not be much different, but this team is clearly better offensively and just better all around since Jack Quinn's come back. I just kind of thought, like, as an exercise, like, where do you think they would be if he was here all year? And obviously, this like players get hurt. You can't think that way. But I'm just like, just as an exercise, like, where do you think we'd be if we had Quinn all season long?
I honestly I think Jack Quinn, especially with the way he's playing, he's probably good for one or two more wins than we have right now. Like
Yeah,
maybe he scores the late goal that pushes us into overtime and we get an extra point. Like I think he's good for like picking up a couple points
yeah. So
here.
even if you
Like
did like 4 on the high, so if you did 4 on the high end, that puts us at 50 points, which would be
and that's what
five
3 points back.
5 points out. Yeah.
Five. Okay.
Yeah, and then on the low end, even if you're saying like 2 or 3, you're looking at like 6, 7 points back
Yeah.
still. So it wouldn't be enough, obviously, but yeah, I just thought about it. I'm like, I don't know, like he'd obviously he helped stabilize the lines and things. So yeah, I'm kind of in that range too. I think he could get you 4 points. I might even say 6, honestly, dude. I think he means a lot to this team, and
He does.
and,
He
and they've
does.
played a lot better since he's been back. But that's just an aside. You can go on to your next point there, but I just
when
love that he's back and that he's playing really good.
when that second line gets going, like they proved last year and like they did against LA, they're like almost unstoppable because all
Hmm.
three guys are pretty unique in the way they play and they really play off each other well. So yeah, I'm pretty glad that Jack is back and playing very well. So my question for you that just popped into my head, on a scale of 1 to 10, how surprised are you that Matthias Samuelsson is injured?
Dude, that's a zero. That's an absolute zero. This man, he's all about load management. He's like the LeBron James of NHL. He's just like fake an
This guy
injury
plays
here and there.
for this guy plays for Millard Fillmore Hockey Club because he's always in the hospital.
And I know he like stops pucks, like that's something he's good at. Like,
Yeah,
but like I
he's a
don't know,
shot
man.
blocker.
It's just like it's just so hard because like
I feel for the guy. I feel for him seriously. Like if we're being serious, I really feel for him.
yeah, but one of your best one of a person's best traits is like their availability, and you just don't know what you're gonna get from him, and it's just in and out, and it's it's frustrating. That is a funny question though, but I'm absolutely at
Like
a zero.
I thought about this too, just going off that. Like I wonder if part of his very like low point play this year is just the fact that he's never healthy. And
Hmm.
like he'll come back, he might have a good game or two, and then he'll like take a knock and then come back too quickly and just start playing bad because he's hurt, man. Like part of it is just like this guy can't like really get on a run himself where he's like feeling good about his body, and it's just super unfortunate. I wish he could play in the position that he's supposed to, like second, third pair, and I wish that he was healthy because his skill set intrigues me like a lot.
Hmm. Yeah,
He just is not ever available.
yeah, and what's the thing is too is like there's because you hear the term like injury prone all the time. Like I don't believe in people being injury prone. Like I just think you're unlucky because like injury is just so hard to predict, and
Right.
I,
Well,
so
like
you
look at
you
Taves
just
this year. He took a shot like a shot off his thumb. Like that's
yeah.
how are you gonna prevent that?
So I know some guys get injured more than others, so they get that label slapped on them like the injury prone. But I don't believe in that. I just think you're unlucky, and I think he's just gotten unlucky like a time or two. But yeah, he's just kind of interesting because I think I think his ceiling is fairly low, like I've said before. But I think he can, if he gets into a groove, he can somewhat help stabilize things. The thing that really sucks is that hockey's so vague with their injuries. Like I love like if I knew a little bit more, doing what I do as a therapist, like if I just knew a little bit more about what was actually going on, like and it doesn't have to be like super extensive, but even if they said like, oh, like rotator cuff or like this ligament, like you just get such vague things that it's it's good for players' privacy, I guess, but in the same light, it kind of sucks for like the general media because it's or everybody because it's like you you don't know like if I knew oh he's dealing with this specific injury and it's this thing like I could be like well that really explains why he's been bad with the stick or why he's been slow or having difficulty cutting like so when you don't know that information and you don't even know like the history of what he's come back from it's just kind of like oh he looks kind of shitty again but like if I know more I have more information.
Well, that's why it was so interesting with Quinn coming back from his Achilles because you know like the mechanism that happened was he hurt it like working out. So you
Yeah.
kind of know like doing what you do, you know like the mechanism for that kind of injury and what it might look like for him to return. So it does. Hockey is so weird with that. Like I'm thinking about like obviously we follow we're following the Bills hardcore like that's our team. And we have a lot of guys like banged up Bills. Kyle Trimble, I'm gonna shout him out because he does great work, just like diagnosing injury for not only the Bills but like throughout the league. Like he puts in a lot of work to take a look at like what happens on the football field and pretty much like he's pretty much spot on like
Hmm.
diagnosing injury and if a guy's ready to play or like if he's gonna be healthy or like can he play through it. That just does not exist in hockey. It just doesn't. And I
Yeah.
I think it would like a unique layer for like the fan perspective just to understand like what like yeah, we always say like oh these guys like go through so much and they put their bodies on the line, but like we don't really know what they're dealing with because it's just not.
Yeah, yeah, and see the thing is like I could take more time and try and like find that stuff, but that's like I don't have time to do that shit. And also, it's like then you're just speculating. You know, it's like is that fair to the player for me to like throw out like oh I think he's dealing with this when I could be like completely wrong. Like even Dr. Crowd Trimble, like he ends up finding out pretty quickly like if he's right or wrong because he knows at the end of the day like hockey's going to correct him. You know, like it'd be a little bit more speculative as far as hockey goes, which I mean, whatever. We're just like a small podcast, so like
Well,
I could
it
do
was
that, but it's more
also
finding the time.
it was also very interesting that it came out that Tage was playing with a protective glove or a protective cover over his hand for probably he said I think 8 to 10 games, and that explained why like he can still shoot the puck, but he couldn't like really like his stick handling wasn't there for the first little while he was back, and
Yeah,
that makes sense to me. If you have like extra padding, then your feel is not as natural on your hands.
yeah,
So
yeah.
for
Like
people,
Chad and
it's gonna be
XB,
more difficult.
like they had the deets on that being a ligament injury. So then okay, I'm able to elaborate on that much more, you know. But it's just like we're just not privy to that information in the National Hockey League, so it's just
Right.
it can be tough. But all right, I have optimistic thing here for it. Well, actually, I want to take your temperature on this thought that I have.
Okay.
I'm not saying we're making playoffs. I'm absolutely not saying that. But
Dude, we're gonna get a text from Eric tomorrow. Is this he's gonna say, is this guy delusional?
all right, so I just want give me like let's go let's go wing style here. So
Okay.
we'll go hot. This is temperature, right? So hot,
Yeah, I got it. I got it.
medium, mild, or cold, which is like the leftover wings like the next day,
Plain,
right?
plain wings, plain.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so that's what I want you to hit me back with this.
Okay.
Playoff chances for the Sabres this season. Like I was saying, I think Money Puck on their website has them right now at 11.2, which even I think is a little bit high. But I'm gonna give you before you say I'm gonna give you just a couple like inside, or I'm gonna give you a little bit more context here. So right now, where we sit, 48 games played. There's everyone that's ahead of us. It's kind of a wash as far as like games in hand. Like New Jersey has a few games in hand, but like I don't see that being like a huge factor right now. But they're 9 points out of a playoff spot right now. That's pretty hefty to come back from 48 games in. Again, you have 34 left, but you're going to have to get a pretty good percentage of those points. Now, the teams that are ahead of them, Pittsburgh, we don't play them anymore. So you're not getting any like 4 point swings against them. Washington, we do have 2 games left against them. Islanders, we play them once more. The Devils, we have one more game against them. The Red Wings, who are in wild card 2 right now, we actually have 3 games left against them. And then Tampa Bay, who's wild card 1 currently, we have 2 games left against them. So I don't know, what would you say? Hot, medium, mild, or cold? Where are you at with Sabres and playoff chances in 2024?
Well, listen, as we're gonna title this podcast, it's the hope that kills you. I am gonna say mild because there is a chance. Like, dude, we've seen them play good. They could get super hot and just somehow find their way in. It's probably not gonna happen, and just I gotta give it just a mild for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm gonna give it mild. I can't give it cold because I do think if they do go on a little bit of run, it could get interesting, at least in that mild range. It's not going to be, I can't just say medium just because, like, they've just proven to me that they're just this inconsistent hockey team. So, like, I have my doubts about them actually going on a run, but we're hopeful. It's the hope that kills you. And you know what? Well, if you can see it on here, if you're watching on YouTube, it's not very bright, but I'm trying to bring some loose leaf back. I got the construction paper this time, and we got the yellow construction
Good
paper
luck
with the blue
construction
writing.
paper.
There we go. You already know. You already know the banner right there. But all right, we'll move on to the next thing here. You got anything here?
No, that was a good question. I mean, just closing it out with playoffs.
Yeah, we can close out Sabres talk here. I just want to say one more thing. I feel surprisingly optimistic right now. I just want to kind of end with some of my overview thoughts. We got into our feels a little bit with the Bills earlier, so I'm gonna go into my feels a little bit here with the Sabres. And I think why I'm optimistic, not about the playoffs, but about the future is because They got to get the right head coach. They're going to make a move at head coach, whether it's this year or next year. I think even they realize that. But I think we do have a really good core. I think that a lot of teams would take. And when I think about the players that obviously are the core, Cousins, Thompson, Power, Darlene, I feel really good about those players. Darlene's obviously having his struggles this season, but he's going to be a great player, and he is a great player. JJ, Paterka, Quinn, I think they're going to end up working those guys out. They're depth pieces. Like those are depth
Yep.
pieces.
They're going
And
to
then if
get
you
long
look,
term extensions, in my opinion.
yes, I agree. And then if you just look at like Ryan Johnson being a rookie and contributing, that's a defenseman that I think we can count on for years to come, hopefully. Zach Benson coming in and playing as good as he's playing, that's another guy who hopefully next year can take a step forward. And then Devin Levi, we don't know what's going to happen with him and Rochester and development and whatnot, but I just think I have to give them credit for what they've built and some of these young kids who have already come up and shown that they can play. And if they can make a couple moves, I do think that they're heading in the right direction. It's a frustrating season, but I am optimistic about the future.
I think that's good perspective. Like it really does only take like one or two moves, like one or two good trades,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're suddenly, in the wild card one, like next year, like easily in the playoffs.
Yeah,
So I think I think Kevin Adams. I think this someone described it to me as this offseason was very arrogant, where they thought that, oh well, we developed so well last year and all the young guys carried us and we had 91 points and we missed the playoffs by 1 point. Like, why don't we just like stick with the status quo and everyone will get better because they're a year older? Well, you gotta take the break it to you guys, but like development isn't always linear. Like there's ups and downs, and you gotta fill in those ancillary pieces and get a couple guys that'll pick you up when your guys are struggling. So
yeah.
next year, I think it'll be like we'll have different depth next year. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
it'll be good, like good depth. I think we're gonna have a good team next year, solely because they simply cannot do what they did the last two seasons by doing basically nothing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm pretty excited. It
You
sucks
have to
that like
learn from
I'm
that.
yeah, I agree. It sucks that I'm excited. I'm excited for the season to be over, kind of, just because I want to see what they do in the summer.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Speaking of that, real quick, do you the trade deadline is? I mean, we still got time. It's 43 days away, but March 8th. Like, what do you anticipate there? It's early, but buyers, sellers, kind of staying put.
I think the Sabres are in like a unique position where they're not obviously not a buyer for, like in the traditional sense, like a buyer for the playoffs. But at this point, they should be buying players.
Yeah,
Like they should be buying players with term for the next year, or like buying players with like another year on their deal that they know going into next year is going to be on your team. Like they're kind of in a unique position to do that. Or like even if they end up selling Casey Middlestat, which I'm leaning towards hoping they kind of do, just because I'm excited about what they could get for him.
mm-hmm.
But at the same time, he's like our best fucking forward at the time right now, so it's like so difficult. That shit is
Yeah.
going to be the most interesting. And so speaking of Casey, did you hear his comments last week or earlier this week? He
No.
said he really wants to be here, and he kind of inferred that like money, like he wouldn't push for like a long-term deal. So if he gets like a 3-year deal, dude, I sign me up for it. Like sign me all the way up for that because
Yeah.
it's very low risk if you're signing him to a shorter term deal.
That's interesting. I mean, I think it makes sense, right? Like if he wants money, he can go and get it. He's having
Yep.
a good season. But if again, you never know what a guy's thinking, and he was made here. Like we stuck with him, and he broke out this season, and you could say last season, and he's continued that this year. And if you feel like you have a debt somewhat to an organization for sticking with you and letting you kind of develop, then maybe you're willing to do that. And if and in the same thread, if you want to be part of that team that finally ends the drought, which can be something special, then you never know. Yeah, I mean, I could see that for sure. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. I guess we'll know in a month and a half if they let him go, and if they don't, I would anticipate that they're probably working on a signing. So we'll see what happens as time goes. But
Just gotta
that's
wake
all.
up Kevin. We gotta set up. We gotta set Kevin's alarm.
Yep,
Wake up.
yep.
Wake up
Get
and make some moves.
get him out of hibernation.
Like, come on. Now, especially, and dude, just like wake up this town. Like, get us
Yeah,
excited again.
that's just it. That's just it. All right, you want to just do quick Amerks here?
Yeah, I haven't watched any of their games. I've been like loosely following, obviously,
Yeah,
but man, they're kind of like on a heater right now, aren't they?
yeah. They're playing good. I've watched a couple. They've we didn't. I don't think we really did Amerks much last week because we had Eric on and we went a
Yeah, we
little
don't have to
longer.
go into detail because it's so hard to follow two teams at once.
Yeah, but they are on a bit of a heater, like you said. A big component of that is health. They've gotten a lot of their guys back. They were really banged up at the beginning of the year. Comries went down there and had a couple nice games for them in goal, which is something they struggled with. But since we last spoke about them on the podcast, they've been 4-1 over the last 2 weeks, and they've won 6 of their last 8 games. Just a couple highlights from some of these. Want to just shout out Seth Appert, who collected his 100th win as the Amerks head coach, and he's just the seventh head coach in Amerks franchise history to reach that milestone. So just kind of a cool little thing for Appert. I was kind of surprised to hear that only 7 teams, but like you said, coaches rotate for sure. And then they did play in the Queen City Classic, which is kind of like I don't know if the AHL has like more outdoor games or not, but I think this is like their winter classic, essentially like the NHL had. So it was an outdoor game, and that was against the Charlotte Checkers in North Carolina. So I did watch some of that one, and kind of cool like that they were a part of that, and they had a nice day for it, and it was cool seeing like the city in the backdrop. And then Rusek is the only other thing I really want to elaborate on. Rusek has been on a point streak as well, so he is currently on a 13 game point streak. So he's been getting it done. He's been scoring and setting guys up. And now that Kulik is back, actually no, I don't know if they play on the same line, but Kulik is back. They got healthy, so hopefully he can keep that going, and we'll keep an eye on that throughout the pod week to week and see how far he can push that. But that's pretty much all I got for the Amerks. They've made a nice little comeback, and Ryan, you know what? I can let you start with your goofball here real quick as we kind of close things out for the show. But while you're doing that, I'll look up where they are in the standings because I know they've definitely moved up a little bit.
So my goofball this week is touching on going with the scandal, um, the rape scandal. Dude, Daniel Briere, I love Daniel Briere, but my God, man, it was put out that over the summer, Daniel Briere tried to trade Carter Hart to multiple teams, knowing what was going to go down. And I just got to say, what a piece of shit move that is to try to trade a guy that you know is going to get in trouble for something so serious. You're a big time goofball, and you deserve to be shit on for even thinking about trying to move him and get assets for someone that you know is going to be under investigation. That's my goofball.
That's crazy, man. So I can see where like if that happened, like that could kind of bounce back at him. Like that team would be pissed, and there would definitely be. I would
Right.
imagine that they'd want to know if he knew, and if he did, there'd be something going on there, litigation,
Well,
whatever.
over the summer, dude, I don't know if you remember, like over the summer, there was a lot of speculation. Like, I think Carter Hart was a guy that I wanted, like really bad, because like no one knew that it was him. Like there were no names that were affiliated with like this investigation, and even the media was like, oh yeah, the Flyers are thinking about like moving on from Hart, like for like good reasons too. Just like they're not going to be very good. He's a great goalie, blah blah, all this stuff. So, dude, the league had to have known, in my opinion. Like the league had to have known because he didn't move, and Briere just like offered him everywhere. And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
dude, that's so gross, man. That's so gross to me. So Danny B gets my goofball of the week just because that's a shitty thing, man. That's a really shitty thing to do.
That is that I, yeah, I don't know how you can possibly do that. I would feel like such a scumbag. But before I give mine real quick, and mine will be fast anyways, but the Amerks are in fourth in the North, which is fourth out of seven. But they do have two games in hand over the teams ahead of them, and they're actually well, technically they're actually tied for third. So they're actually in third via point percentage, but that's way better than they were even just a couple weeks ago. So this little run that they're on is good, and I believe the top three teams from each division make the playoffs. Very similar to hockey. So yeah, so they're right there, and hopefully can keep doing what they're doing. My goofball, or should I say goofballs? We're going back to football here. My goofball is Miami Dolphins fans because these guys are just so
Oh yeah,
delusional.
let's
And
go.
I get this Nicky Smokes character. He just like
He
every
is
year
so funny though. He is so funny.
he is funny. He is funny, but like I feel like kind of like the Bills losing to the Chiefs is a tradition. Like the yearly Nicky Smokes meltdown video is like also a tradition for me on social media, and it's just so funny because week 13, Bills were 6-6. I mean, there was an amazing amount of shit talk from Dolphins fans, and then
They were gonna win the division. Division's theirs. Blah blah.
oh
Bills are
yeah,
shit.
they were like, I mean, some talking heads had them like one in the power rankings. Like they were getting just like praise from everywhere. And then little by little, the Bills start creeping in, the lines start getting a little blurry, and then Josh Allen, he put down that paycheck, that child care check, and he showed him he's still their daddy.
Dude, Dolphins fans are the most delusional fan base in football. I'm adding to your goofball because today I saw someone say that Belichick left the Patriots because of the emergence of Tua,
Oh
and I
my
just, I
gosh.
just, I just wanted, I just wanted to die just reading that. It's like, come on, you guys are just so delusional. I got another goofball. These pussy Chiefs fans. Oh my lord, they are so mad. They are so mad at Bills Mafia, especially the Swifties, and I am a Swiftie. Oh my god, these people have never seen trash talk before. You'd think that we were like hanging fucking effigies of Taylor Swift in the parking lot the way they were talking. Like this is this is NFL football. Fans are gonna talk shit. And I'm sorry, I don't know. This is probably a minority opinion. I probably seem like a total dick, but I'm totally okay with throwing snowballs. They're snowballs. You're not gonna hurt anyone throwing a snowball. Like relax, okay? And like
Yeah, oh, dude, the one
the
tweet you
Chiefs,
see, the one tweet that I actually I think I saw you comment on it, but the one tweet about like Mahomes like going over some kid and then getting pelted with snowballs, and
yeah,
I'm like, good, he should be. He's playing in New
yeah, he
York.
knows better. You know better
Yeah,
than that, like, dude. And like they're like, oh, all Bills fans are scumbags, blah blah blah. Buddy, it's football. There is trash talk between like. I gotta give it to the Chiefs. It was kind of funny that they were like waving to our fans and shit, like talking shit back. But like, that's what makes football so fun. Like the back and forth between fans and players. Like obviously you don't go like I'm smart enough to know that you don't go over the line and another fucking goofball this week. The fans DMing Tyler Bass,
oh yeah.
just all the
That type
awful
of stuff.
stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
all the awful stuff. Like that's crossing the line. There's no place for that. But like simple, like
Or the fans
oh,
yelling at Gabe,
like
like the
yeah,
video of
you
that
suck.
came out. Like, yeah,
Yeah, like you suck, Kelsey. Like blah blah, like stuff like that. That's literally sports. Like that
yeah,
is totally fine. Like it was just so funny. I don't know. They were just crying. They were crying so hard. Like, I want them to get blown out so bad. I can't stand their fan base, dude. I really cannot.
yeah. Do you got picks for the wild card or the championship games this weekend?
We're getting a rematch of the heart. We're getting a rematch of the 2012 Super Bowl. We're getting San Francisco and Baltimore.
All right. You're going San Fran, Baltimore. I'm rooting for the Lions now. I am rooting for the Lions. Part of me, like we said afterwards, is like, do I maybe not want them to win because I don't want them to win before the Bills? But with us in the turmoil, I am totally rooting for the Lions right now. I want them to win it all, and I'd like to see Lions and Ravens because to be honest, dude, if the Chiefs make the Super Bowl, I don't know if I'll watch, and I probably will watch because it's a Super Bowl. But I that is how much I do not want to see the Chiefs in another Super Bowl again. Like I will not. I will. I'm thinking about refusing to watch the biggest television event like of the year because of that. Like San Fran
You
and
can,
Chiefs like just disinterest me so much. I'm rooting
I
for
know.
Lions Ravens.
You can tune in and watch the Usher halftime show and then turn
Yeah,
it back off.
yeah, yeah. I'll just watch him
But
break down the house.
I don't know. I'm ready. I'm excited for this week. Like even though we lost, I still just love watching football, and I'm excited for this weekend.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, well, that's pretty much doing it for the show today. We I don't know if we'll be here next week. We might take a little break here too, as the NHL heads towards the All Star break. But the Sabres do have one more game this Saturday at San Jose, so we'll see if they can get a little win streak heading into the break, and then they play again next on February 6th. So. We'll talk to everybody again, either like next week or the week after. But any other thoughts here, Ryan, before we wrap?
It's the All Star break. I'm already pre-mad at the people that are gonna be like, "Oh, the All Star break is lame and the All Star game is lame." Not everything is for you, okay? Like it's for the kids, basically. Like this stuff is for the kids.
Yeah,
So let the kids enjoy it. Let them wear their goofy Justin Bieber design jersey because they're really goofy looking this year.
yeah,
I
they
really
are.
don't
They are
like
bad.
I really don't like the jerseys for the All-Star game, but hey, this is a time for the players to like bring their kids on the ice and like have like a nice time. So
Yeah,
if you don't want to
yeah,
watch it, don't watch, and
exactly.
we'll get your game back in a couple weeks.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, well, that is it, folks. So, once again, thanks for listening to the show. And if you are not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, check that out. You can watch us on there. And be sure to follow on Apple, Spotify. That's where we upload every week. Rate, review, and tell your friends about us. And of course, you can find us on Twitter at Sabres Spotlight. And we also have our email address in the show notes in case you have any thoughts, feedback for us. But that's going to do it for today, and we will see everybody in a couple weeks, most likely. But peace out.
See ya.